All right, gang, we are finally live. I made you wait there a little bit, but we're finally here, finally arrived. Time once again for another of our newscasts here on Conceit TV. Appreciate you all being here with me. Appreciate your time, making the time this morning to be here on the newscast, and we love to do it. We love to have you here. We love to to be here, and we're coming at you live from the big city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and from Studio A of Hester Studios, I suppose, or just Conceit TV Studios. Studio A here, our library. But we do appreciate your time, appreciate you, and all that you do reading the newsletter and being here with us and helping to transform yourself into a cutting edge creative because the world needs those. And we need you to hone your creativity, to be all you can be in that way. And so we're looking to get there together. We're all getting there together, and that's the goal. That's what we're working on here. One of the primary stories, one of the things I just wanted to touch on first is that you can view the Conceit Media podcasts that we build here at conceit.audio, conceit.audio. We've got a whole library there. And just to elaborate on more of what I'm working to do there has been, just to be forthright about all this, is that I basically one of the experiments I'm working with is to explore the possibilities of combining AI and podcasting. And so we've got tools like voice cloning, that sort of thing. And so I've been working on my own voice clone, Clay clone, as I like to think of him. And so he has been in the works, and he's been helping me to do more podcasts, helping me to do more podcasts and to really build up a library of ideas, a library of topics that we can work on. Because, yeah, they're just really working to get an expansive array of possibilities to cover for the Conceit Media Podcast Network. And so there's just so many good ideas for what you could do a podcast on. So many of them are kind of history focused in terms of where the innovations come from, where the ideas come from, how those have changed over time. And so I've really wanted to highlight those because I think that's important and it helps to inspire us when we think about all the ways that ideas come to us. And so that's been a part of it. And so I want to let you all know that you can go over to conceit.audio, conceit.audio, listen to all of those podcasts there, and hopefully inspire you, and hopefully you can inspire somebody else by sending them their way. And I hope that you will do the same by forwarding this morning's spark to somebody's inbox and sharing a little bit of inspiration with them. Get them sizzling, get them sparkling, and light up a fire, and in a good way, not in the way that the metaphor seems a little bit of a dangerous metaphor these days with the dry conditions here in most places here in the Midwest. It's certainly pretty dry in the big city of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. And so that has been one thing to watch out for, is the dry conditions going on around the country. But all of that to the side, one of the things that we will want to do eventually is to do a crowd solve about some of these dry conditions, some of these record heat waves, to work on some of those crowdsourced solutions, some of those challenges to get people thinking about the big ideas that can go their way, and to get people thinking about the ideas that can, work on some of these big problems. One of the ways I've been thinking recently about reinventing the game show, right? Like who watches game shows? Who wants to reinvent them? Well, and this was before the whole Ryan Seacrest thing with the Wheel of Fortune, but really does seem to suggest that game shows need to be shaken up a little bit, is to be reinvented, because they certainly don't seem like they're being reinvented in any way. One thing I think that would be valuable is that in today's world, well, we call them wicked problems. These problems that are so multi-pronged and so thorny. There's no obvious solution. And there's a book by David Epstein. It's called Range. It's a wonderful book. Let me get it. Highly recommend it. David Epstein's Range, right? And he talks all about this. The idea of a wicked problem. And so he introduces the concept of range that is good for a creative, right? To have these multiple perspectives, this wide array of knowledge, of capacity, these knowledge domains that you're connected into. And by having these different assortment of perspectives, he's got the symbol of the various keys here. You unlock numerous doors. You can get into a problem and drop the book, and so you can get into the problem and really look for a solution, breaking into the problem by using your set of keys. And so that has been a really valuable way of looking at things is through range. And so getting back to my point was that a game show that essentially crowdsources solutions to the world's thorniest problems. Now there's some entertainment, maybe, just maybe, with your help. That's what Conceit TV can eventually deliver on, is some of those opportunities for people to get together, challenge themselves, and gamify the world's biggest problems. Because if you turn the world's problems into games, just think about what's possible. The fact of the matter is that the rulers of the world today aren't kings and queens or presidents or people with guns or swords. It's the people that can trigger that dopamine hit. It's the gamers, the gamification experts that can really move and drive the world. And so that dopamine hit is part of creativity. It's part of flow. And so when you get into the creative flow, it's harnessing something innate within your reward system, because you want to perform at your best. You want to act it at your best through that creative process. And you're moving and you're transforming yourself, you're transforming your environment, and you're working at your very best. And that's what Flow's all about. And so that's really what the mission of this organization, Conceit Media, is all about. It's about taking a new shape and really transforming ourselves into something that can change the world and also make us live at our best. Because if we're living up to that, the dopamine hits that are good for us, right? Not just the various things that I know we're all aware of that can cause dopamine hits, but don't make us feel better or alive or happy, But flow, creativity, all these things that make our brain do what it does best naturally, the way it ought to, that's the secret. That's the secret to the fulfilled life. I know it's a little bit early in the morning for us to have solved the problem of the questions of life already, I know. But that's what it comes down to, is to be able to live up to that inner potential that we have. Because our brains are just these machines for problem solving. And we've got the problems. Now we just need to get the problem solving together. And I was listening this morning. There's a wonderful book by Stephen Kotler, and he's influenced me, of course, on all these questions of flow, this flow training, really. He talked about the questions of, and the book is called Stealing Fire. He talks about the question of how you train people to be more creative. Turns out you can't train them in terms of a set of discipline skills. It's all about that mindset. It's all about saying, here, listen, stay curious, be interested, think outside the box, think with range, think in a way that you can tackle these things. And that's really what it comes down to, is as simple as that. And so that's really what the goal has been to dive into and to delve into with Conceit Media. And so, like I said, I was trying to keep today shorter, but I ended up going and sermonizing a little bit. And so I'm going to go ahead and get into today's headlines. And among the things we're covering, Albrecht Durer, who is he's not new in the news, but The Guardian is doing a little bit piece on him and how he really revolutionized things. He was an innovator as an artist, and he thrived within this scene of hustle and bustle and changes going on in his world. The different things that he covered, including the industrialization, the textile, all this manufacturing. And so he really had the zeitgeist within himself. And there's a new gallery, or this new kind of, there's something new going on with his paintings, with his prints, and to put together his work into a new light and to really show the innovative spirit that he possessed. And so, love Durer. As always, I'm interested in the Reformation, and so it's always an interesting thing to see somebody like Durer and to see what the modern perspective is taking on someone like Durer, because he was such a critical part of what was an intellectual, spiritual turning point for the West within the Reformation. Dramatic moment for all of us, and so very interesting to see, because the artists of the time that are depicting the historic figures that are making the history into these scenes, these vignettes that we will remember forever, that's an important role. And so it's good to look back and see what they are, see them with fresh eyes, and one of the headline stories today: Gen Z millennials. What's special about them? What makes them different? Not only are they worried about social issues like diversity, inclusion, those very important bedrocks of any organization today, they fundamentally believe in making their work purpose-driven, and they also go on in this survey by Deloitte that is putting together this kind of psychographic information about Gen Z and millennials. It puts it together and takes a look at this idea of being purpose-driven. Organizations that are purpose-driven tend to do better. They know what they're about, and so they don't lose that focus. But as they also note, simply working for a purpose-driven company isn't enough for Gen Z and millennials. They want to actively drive change in their work. In fact, they feel more confident in influencing societal change through their jobs than through their personal choices. So this is the interesting thing. It's about changing the system, thinking within a systemic view, systematic thinking, and looking at the feedback loops, looking at how you transforms the world around you. And so that's very important. TikTok is releasing its own social music streaming service. And I think I got this wrong in the headline for the video. I said Spotify, and well, whoops. And so the current TikTok streaming service, Resso, is coming to an end on September 5th. It's always interesting because this TikTok music app is all about that wonderful music discovery. And so that's always an important part of our world, our landscape of media, is the discovery. How do you get discovered? How do you make discoveries happen? How do you incite new passions and new interests? That's always a fascinating part of it. Meanwhile, Browse with Bing is being shut down for now, and that involves people getting past the barriers of certain gated content, and so they were using it to look up things that they'd otherwise have to pay for, and so they have shut that down for the time being, and we're expecting it to come back, probably. DeepDubGo, a cutting-edge AI-powered platform, is revolutionizing audio and video localization. It's working to dub languages in your voice and with your emotional context in up to 65 different languages. Fascinating story. In the world of the history of ideas, we're looking at fossils. What were they interpreted as before we came to the theory of evolution, came to the theories about dinosaurs and the like? Well, it turns out there was a whole different world in mind than the land before time. It was the world of cyclopses and dragons and giants. And so that is a story from Big Think that is talking about how those fossils were interpreted, how the natural world, the natural philosophy of the world was interpreted. Always a fascinating thing to see what people do with the information that they take in their own context. And so I want to thank you all for tuning in today. Appreciate your time. We will be back with you here in the very near future from Conceit TV. I'm Clayton Hester, signing off, saying Thanks again.